What's up everybody, long time no see. Please forgive me for another long break between our videos, but as you can see by the title of this one, we've been just a little bit busy having a baby and adjusting to life with 2 kids. Right now she's actually sleeping in the bassinet, so hopefully she'll sleep for a little bit longer so that I can give you a little bit of an update on myself and her since she's been home. Tomorrow she'll officially be 3 weeks old. She was born on September 13th, which was Friday the 13th and a full moon, and she was born at 3:30 in the morning, so she's got a pretty cool birthday. She was born in the water, so we did have a successful out-of-hospital water birth, which was absolutely amazing. I'm not going to share too many details in this video because I plan on doing like a whole birth story video separate from the video of me actually having her, because I haven't decided if I actually want to share that video yet. I just haven't decided if it's something I want to end up sharing or if I just want to keep it for myself, so we'll see. But we did have a successful water birth, and it was literally the best and hardest experience of my entire life. She was born 7 pounds 1 ounce and 19 and a half inches long. We did have a pediatrician appointment obviously immediately after, but the last one that we had was 2 days ago, and she's already up a full pound and 20 inches long. So she is growing very well, all thanks to mama's milk, because she is breastfed. So I do want to touch on that. She latched on immediately. Like as soon as she came out, she was already looking to latch on. So she latched on right away, and I nursed her for a super long time. But as soon as we got home, she was obviously cluster feeding, which a lot of newborns do. But I noticed that she had I don't know if it was a shallow latch or just a bad latch. Like her jaw, I guess, came out of alignment, so she wasn't able to open her mouth all the way. She does have a minor lip tie, but that's not causing very many issues, but it was making breastfeeding extremely painful. And because she was cluster feeding so much, and my milk didn't come in until very late and on day 2 or like early day 3, something like that, so it felt like it took absolutely forever for my milk to come in. And I did experience for the first time cracked and blistered nipples because of how poor she was latching on and how often I wasn't getting any sort of break. Right away I felt like maybe it's just not meant to be that we breastfeed this time, because it was also taking me away from taking care of my older daughter Aubrey, and that brought on a lot of mom guilt. But I knew that I just had to obviously find the root of the problem of why we were having these latch issues, because breastfeeding isn't supposed to be that painful. It's supposed to be uncomfortable, that's normal, but it wasn't supposed to be painful like that. And so I decided to just stick it out and see if we could fix the issue before I just threw in the towel and said forget about breastfeeding. So my midwife suggested that we take the baby to a chiropractor, because a chiropractor can obviously help a lot with the jaw alignment. And so I did that right away, and so she's been going twice a week since then, and her latch has improved immensely. She still feeds a lot, unless it's a day that she sleeps a couple hours at a time and then nurses and then goes back down to sleep, or she's fine being content. I do have to constantly hold her and constantly nurse her. Like if she's in my arms, she obviously can smell me and she wants to nurse, so she's not necessarily feeding every 2 hours or 1.5 to 2 hours like a normal newborn. She cluster feeds a lot, and she pretty much wants to be nursing every 30 minutes or so. So that has been pretty difficult, trying to balance my time between the new baby and my older daughter. Like I said, it's still quite an adjustment. It is just as hard, if not more, than I imagined it would be, and yet in other ways it's been pretty smooth. At this point we're just taking it kind of one day at a time, and I'm just relieved that breastfeeding is continuing to get easier at this point. She is unfortunately showing some signs of being a little bit of a colicky baby. She goes through these periods kind of in the afternoon and later in the day of being extremely fussy, has to be held, has to be nursing, but while she's nursing she will also pull off and be very uncomfortable, and it just seems like she's having a lot of abdominal pain and discomfort. So we have started her on Mylicon gas drops, and that has seemed to help. I think we've only been giving her to them about the last 2 or 3 days or so, but it has seemed to help her demeanor quite a bit. I'm actually able to put her down for a little bit longer, and she seems to be napping better during the day, because she was either napping or sleeping all day long or not sleeping at all, and it was becoming very difficult. Today was a little bit harder of a day, but right now she's taking a pretty decent nap. We actually just got home from the chiropractor, and usually she takes a good nap after her appointment. I try not to give her the gas drops unless I see that she really needs it. Not because it's dangerous to. You can give a newborn baby, I think, 12 doses of Mylicon, like after every feeding within a 24-hour period. But the bottle is like this big, and I just don't want it to run out as quickly, so I try to only give it to her as needed. I for sure give her a dose right before bed, just so that she goes down easy and doesn't have any gas pains, and that keeps her awake. As of right now, she has a pretty decent sleep schedule. I start to feed her at about 9:30, and she does take forever to nurse. It's anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour to feed off of both sides, and it's the same way overnight too. So every time she wakes up, I'm up for about an hour trying to get her to nurse and settle back down and go back to sleep. I'm noticing that it's kind of getting a little bit easier, but in the very beginning, she would just be like all wide-eyed staring right at me, and I was desperate for her to go back down and go to sleep. Sometimes she falls asleep at the breast, and then when I try to feed her from the opposite side, I just can't wake her up. But as soon as I lay her down and I get back into bed, she wakes up, so I have to get all the way back out of bed and get situated and try to nurse her again. But those are just the little kinks that we're trying to work out as of right now. So far, overnight, she pretty much wakes up every hour and a half to 2 hours like clockwork. I have been using the Haka silicone manual breast pump, and I always put it on the opposite side to catch the letdown, and it's actually catching a lot more milk than I'm able to get out with my electric breast pump. So I've been able to save 5 bags of breast milk so far, which is outstanding for me. So I'm really happy about that, and I feel like if I do that pretty consistently almost every time I nurse, which I try to do overnight and during the day, that it will also help keep my milk supply on the higher side instead of like being a just enougher like I was before, because your milk doesn't really regulate until you've reached about 6 weeks postpartum. So I'm trying to keep up with that as well. I'm not sure if it'll pick up on camera when I do finally show her to you, but her baby acne is starting to come in. She's got a lot of little breakouts right underneath her left eye, some on the right side, and she's got a little bit of dry skin on her face, but I've been trying to put some baby lotion on it just to keep it nice and moisturized. Her cord didn't fall off probably until about 4 or 5 days after she was born, so that stayed on a lot longer than my first daughter's did, and I waited until she was exactly a week old to give her her first bath, and she actually loves getting a bath. Sometimes she falls asleep in the tub and she just looks so relaxed that I'll keep her in there for quite a while. I do it right before bedtime every other day at this point, and I feel like that actually helps her get into a really good routine. But that's pretty much just the basic updates for her. I might give more in my next video, but as far as postpartum symptoms for me, my bleeding was within a normal range. It wasn't ever really super heavy. I didn't pass too many large clots or anything like that. Nothing was worrisome at all. However, I'm at the point now where my bleeding is stopping and starting, so every once in a while I'll get like a full day, maybe a day and a half without bleeding at all, so I'll think, okay, it's finally stopping at this point, but then it starts all over again. And so that part is really annoying. I know that it's better to like not try to work out or anything like that until 6 weeks, until after you've had your 6-week postpartum appointment, just to make sure that everything looks good and that your stitches have healed properly, if that's something that you had to get, which I did. I had a 2nd-degree tear, so I'm not trying to work out or anything extraneous like that. I am trying to keep it very relaxed and, you know, take it easy as much as possible. But no matter my activity level, my bleeding will stop and go, and that part is really annoying because I would like that part to just be completely done. I've had minimal cramping. I had a lot, obviously, in the very beginning, especially right after, and then the first few days. The more your baby is nursing, the more it contracts your uterus so that it can go back down to size. And my postpartum contractions and cramping this time around were a lot more intense than they were with my first daughter. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the fact that I had an epidural the first time and I didn't have one this time, so I don't know if that means that I'm going to be feeling a lot more, but the healing time this time around, despite having a natural birth, has been a lot more difficult than it was before. I did experience a few postpartum headaches. I think that has something to do with breastfeeding, but I could be completely wrong. But I know that they are pretty normal, but they really only came, I want to say, the first 3 days or so, and I haven't had one since then. They felt a lot like the migraines that I was having during my pregnancy. They kind of caught me off guard. It wasn't something I expected or experienced with my first pregnancy and postpartum phase, but luckily I haven't had any more since then. I have had quite a bit of acne breakouts, obviously hormonal because they're right along my chin. Some of them have been quite painful, but I literally sometimes look like I'm going through puberty again, and this is also not something that I experienced after I had my first daughter, Aubrey. So I've been trying to keep my face extra clean, and I usually don't even put any makeup on my face either. Another huge symptom that I'm having this time around that I did not experience after I had my first daughter is really intense like sweating and shivers, especially at night. I will wake up when she starts to wake up and I need to get out of bed and feed her, and I'm pretty much drenched in sweat. Then immediately after that I'll have really, really bad shivers as if I had a fever, like as if my fever had broken. And I guess that's normal. It's just like all of the excess body fluid trying to expel from your body after you've had the baby. But at this point, like I said, I'm 3 weeks postpartum tomorrow, and I'm still experiencing that. And so along with the sweating, which I also experienced during the day, is quite a bit of like a new sort of body odor. So if I forget my deodorant, it's a huge problem. Lastly, as far as my appetite is concerned, I remember as soon as I started breastfeeding Aubrey, my cravings while I was breastfeeding her were way worse than any cravings I had during my pregnancy with her. So I actually gained weight when I was breastfeeding instead of losing it like a lot of people do. But this time around I haven't really had any cravings at all, and I've had a pretty normal appetite. I'm not any more hungry than I probably normally would be, but I still try to eat at least 3 meals a day, because as long as you're keeping up and really nourishing your body, that helps your milk supply. So I've been making sure that I actually take the time to feed myself, even if sometimes I don't get to eat my meals hot because I have 2 kids to take care of now. But my appetite has been pretty normal, and I've been extremely thirsty, which has actually helped me a lot because I have maintained keeping up with my water intake. I actually think I drink a lot more water now that I'm not pregnant than I tried to do while I was pregnant. I constantly keep a Tervis full of ice water with me, and I'm using those stainless steel straws that I mentioned in my hospital bag video. And I'm also drinking those Body Armor super hydration drinks, as well as mother's milk tea to help with my milk supply. So with all of those things, I've been staying extremely hydrated, and I think it's certainly helped with our breastfeeding so far. So that's basically it for how I've been doing and how the baby has been doing. So I'm going to try to go get her without waking her up, and try not to make her too fussy, so that you guys can finally meet our new baby. So that's it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for coming along with me on what felt like the never-ending pregnancy journey. I'm so glad that it's over and that this was my last pregnancy. She came out absolutely perfect, and all of it was totally worth it. Even that pesky ass heartburn, which by the way is completely gone. If you liked this video as well as all my other pregnancy videos, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one, even though I have no idea when I'll be able to upload again. But I'll see you then. Bye.